Well, we just had an enjoyable lunch with the president. I think it's safe to say he's in a very good mood for all the obvious reasons. We're going to turn to the Green New Deal this afternoon. We're going to confirm our 37th circuit judge and also begin the process of moving to the supplemental to try to help those farmers in Georgia and Alabama, Florida as well, not to mention Puerto Rico, and of course we have new storms in the Midwest that will be eligible as well. Clearly we'll be doing another supplemental here in the near future once we are able to fully assess the damage done out in the Midwest. So we'll be quite busy with these items this week, and with that I'll be happy to turn it over to Senator Finn.
Thank you. As the leader pointed out, we are going to vote on the Green New Deal, and that is a vote that I don't think a lot of Democrats are real anxious to cast, but they have a good number of them who have endorsed it, many of them who have co-sponsored it, many of them who are running for president. But if you think about what the actual real-world implications are of the Green New Deal, I think of a state like South Dakota that is very ag-dependent. We need tractors to plant our crop. We need combines to harvest our crop. We need trucks to get it to the elevator, all of which are going to be pretty hard to operate if you don't have fuel-fired engines. And so this has tremendous implications for industry sectors all across the country. And if you think about livestock producers, if we're going to now do away with the methane emissions that are emitted by cows, we have about 4 million head of cattle in South Dakota, about 4 times as many people as we have. We're very dependent upon that for our way of life. And the Green New Deal, as proposed and advocated by many of its sponsors and promoters, would absolutely be devastating and disastrous for the ag economy in South Dakota and for pretty much every other sector of the economy in this country. So we'll see where the Democrats are, and we look forward to and are anxious to have this debate. We think that we ought to be doing everything we can to come up with more renewable sources of energy and to come up with cleaner sources of energy in this country, and Republicans are certainly anxious to enter into that debate. But doing it with mandates and taxes and requirements along the lines of the Green New Deal would absolutely devastate the economy in this country.
A little later this afternoon, we'll be voting on the Green New Deal. It's a vote that the Democrats seem to want to duck, to dodge, and to distance themselves from. And the interesting part of this is that when it was first announced we were going to vote on this, Chuck Schumer said, bring it on. He was happy to have this discussion and this vote. We are now at a point where every Democrat senator who is running for president has endorsed and co-sponsored the Green New Deal. So the question is, why are they going to duck that vote today? Well, the reason is because it's a big green bomb that will blow a hole in our strong, healthy, and growing economy. It's unaffordable, $65,000 per family per year. It would essentially bankrupt America. Energy costs would go up to $3,800 per year per family. It's unworkable, doesn't accomplish what they want it to accomplish. When you talk about increasing renewables, which is important, only 8% of the energy that we use in this country comes from wind and solar. And emissions in the United States are actually going down. We only make 13% of the emissions globally. China and India make 33% of the global emissions. And it remains to be very unpopular. Even the AFL-CIO has said they're against it because of the impact that it would have on their workers, the hardworking families of America. This proposal and so much of this really sharp left turn that the Democrats running for president have taken is one that's so far outside the American mainstream that it's scary. So it's no surprise that the Democrats today are afraid to cast a vote for something they've already supported, already endorsed, and already co-sponsored, which is the Green New Deal.
Well, we're obviously talking about the Green New Deal today, and Senator Barrasso and Senator Thune have already talked about it. I would say in 20 years of watching the Congress pretty closely every day, I've never before seen a bill sponsored by a dozen members in the Senate, who don't want their bill to come to the floor. I've been in plenty of discussions when people said, please bring my bill to the floor, whether it can pass or not. I'd love to see it at least debated, give me a chance to defend it. I have never before seen members of the Congress say, don't vote on my bill. But that's what we're going to do today. And I did have a chance to read it last week, and I now understand why they don't want to vote on their bill.
Thank you. As we're talking about the Green New Deal, this is the time of year in Iowa that we normally do start to see a little bit of green popping up. But unfortunately, as the leader mentioned, we did have a number of devastating storm events that came through the Midwest. And right now in Iowa, we are experiencing some devastating floods. So I do want to thank the President and the Vice President for putting the attention towards a number of these devastating events and supporting the people through the Midwest. And so we have seen about $1.6 billion of damage in Iowa alone. And in 3 of our counties, Pottawatomie County, Mills County, Fremont County, they're receiving the brunt of the floodwaters. Down in Fremont County, $7 million of loss for grain alone. We have grain bins that were blown apart and grain spread from the floodwaters. Devastating losses, again, I can't say that too many times. But again, we'll have to go back, readdress some of the issues that the flood has brought, including the levees that were damaged. Every levee south of Council Bluffs has been compromised. And so we'll have to work with the Corps of Engineers, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, to one, understand why we are seeing river management slip away and what we are going to do to recover those levees. So again, a very bad situation for the folks in the Midwest. I'd like to turn very briefly again to a different issue, and that's Women's History Month. And we are continuing to work on some issues that are very important to women. First and foremost important to me is the Violence Against Women Act and getting that reauthorized. So I'm working with the ranking member on Judiciary, Senator Dianne Feinstein, to modernize and reauthorize this act. Now, I want to take you back to February. The House Democrats did have an opportunity to reauthorize this bill, and they did not do it. So we have to take this up again. This is lapsed, and we need to move on. So working in a bipartisan manner here in the Senate, we will put forward a solid bill that our folks can get behind. But again, so very important for women and survivors of domestic violence as well as sexual abuse. So great way to cap off our Women's History Month is by promoting the types of activities that will truly support and empower women. So I would encourage all of my colleagues to work with us on these issues. Thank you.
Leader McConnell.
Thank you. So, look, I gather a number of Democrats intend to vote present on the Green New Deal vote that we're going to have here. I have no idea why one would vote present on a signature issue of one's own party. Perhaps it's because so many Democrat colleagues understand that this will have a devastating impact on our economy and on our very way of life. Perhaps it's because a number of my colleagues are stuck between the far left wing of their party on one hand and the stark reality that this will hurt families on the other. But whatever reasons they might have for voting present on the signature issue of the Democratic Party, this is clear. Republicans are going to stand firm for American families. Republicans are going to oppose this effort to undermine Medicare. Republicans will make sure that your taxes are not doubled, and Republicans will make sure that we're not going to see an increase in taxes of up to $65,000 per household per year. I think the American people deserve no less. Thank you.
You were critical earlier.
You first.
Go ahead. That's fine. You've been highly critical of the Green New Deal, but this is clearly not something that's being dismissed by young people in your state, some of them sleeping outside of your office in support of this. I'm wondering, do you believe in climate change, and do you believe that humans are contributing to a warming globe?
I do. The question is, how do you address it? John Barrasso is chairman of the Environment Committee, and he's pointed out repeatedly that the way to do this, consistent with American values and American capitalism, is through technology and innovation. And there's no question that that's the way to get the result, not to shut down your economy, throw people out of work, make people reconstruct their homes, get out of their cars. You get the whole drift here. This is nonsense. And if you're going to sign on to nonsense, you ought to have to vote for nonsense, and we're going to give them an opportunity this afternoon. Yeah.
Leader McConnell, thank you. To that end, you were critical in the winter when the House Democrats passed a number of bills to reopen the government. You called those show votes. You and others have talked about these Democratic presidential candidates wanting to get them on the record here. How is this vote on the new Green Deal today not a show vote?
Well, look, when you have a Democratic House and a Republican Senate, the opportunity for advancing legislation on a bipartisan basis is more limited. The House will be sending us a lot of bills that we are not likely to take up. We're probably going to be sending them a lot of bills that they're not going to take up. But I ask again, if you believe the Green New Deal is the prescription for America, why would you not want to vote on it? Pretty obviously, a vote present today is a vote in favor of the Green New Deal. If there are any Democrats who want to come out against the Green New Deal, they'll have an opportunity to do that today. I understand Senator Manchin will. He may be a man alone, but we'll find out. Ed?
Do you support Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham's push to investigate all the other elements of what led up to the Mueller report and what went under in the 2016 campaign?
Well, I think Senator...
And why not allow a vote on legislation that would call for the full release of the Mueller report? You guys blocked it yesterday.
Well, with regard to the Mueller report, there are two things the Attorney General will have to grapple with. Classified information and innocent people's reputations. And I think we ought to give him an opportunity to continue his work. He's done it in a very deliberate fashion, but throwing innocent people under the bus and throwing open classified records doesn't strike me as a good idea. And I trust him to begin to go through this. I hope he'll be as transparent as he possibly can. And at that point, maybe it's the appropriate time to discuss whether we think it is a good idea to throw innocent people under the bus and to release classified information. But not yet. He's going to still be providing additional report or reports that will tell us more of the things that we all want to learn about.
What about Chairman Graham's ideas?
Well, I think Senator Graham has raised a legitimate question. And the Inspector General and the Justice Department has apparently been looking at some of this misbehavior. And I think it's not inappropriate for the chairman of the Judiciary Committee with jurisdiction over the Justice Department to investigate possible misbehavior. Certainly the House is not going to miss an opportunity in the coming months to look at what they perceive to be things that require oversight. The Senate's involved in the oversight business just like the House is.
Mr. Leader, to be clear, do you believe that the Mueller report should be released? And this is a non-binding measure. Why not let your members who are calling for its release at least get on the record here?
Yeah. Maybe I'll say it again. I think the Attorney General is in the process of looking at how much to release. He's already indicated he wants as much as possible to be released. But at some point here, we may have to make a decision whether we think it's a good idea to throw innocent people who have not been charged under the bus and to throw open classified information that may compromise other efforts that we're involved in. So it's premature to decide what we're looking for here. He's already indicated he wants to be as open as possible. I trust him to do that. If at the end there are questions, that'll be a good time to look at it. Thank you.